These are the articles to be covered today. So he is saying, he is suggesting a new framework. What is this new framework? Look at this. Unfortunately, today the government denies the existence of casualties emanating from its acts of omission and commission. What is the meaning of omission and commission? Commissions means committing a crime, committing a mistake. Because of some governmental actions, some people die. Omission means government not doing something that they are supposed to do. In some cases, government is supposed to do some things, but they are not doing. In some cases, they are making some mistakes. Because of both these omission and commission, there will be lot of casualties, lot of deaths. Unfortunately, government denies the existence and it is not counting them. Because of which civil society is taking it up. Civil society has taken up to maintain the list of people who are dying on account of COVID-19, on account of demonetization, now on account of RTI. The government is not maintaining database, civil society members are maintaining this database. Right? Now the author is saying we need to advocate for and move towards creating a socio-legal system that recognizes the RTI users under attack as human right defenders. We need to identify these RTI defenders as human right defenders, and we have to build a framework that protects and that facilitates and protects them in their attempt to pursue issues of public interest. This RTI activist is trying to get information in the interest of public. So they are making a plea, they are getting information, they are making it public. Why? Not for him, in the interest of public. In this process, he is facing threats from politicians and lobbies. So we need to protect him. We need to facilitate protection. And who has to do it? The state has to do it. The government has to do it. The state has to build a strong framework to protect these whistleblowers. For that, the author is giving some suggestions. Look at this. There can be multiple components to such a framework. Right? And it is time state governments take the lead without waiting for central government to set an example. So don't wait for central government to set an example. State government can take a lead and start. That is what the author, who is a former Supreme Court judge, is saying here. First thing, state governments must direct law enforcement agencies to expeditiously, means quickly, and in a time-bound manner, complete investigations in all cases where RTI users are harassed. Wherever RTI users are harassed, state governments must direct these law enforcement agencies to quickly and in a time-bound manner complete investigation. Don't drag them for years. Complete investigations in a quick and time-bound manner. And this must also include making proactive efforts to provide adequate compensation. Someone is dead, so there is a family dependent on him, and the government must make efforts to immediately compensate the family. Instead of waiting, it must immediately compensate the family. First thing, speedy investigation. Second thing, immediate compensation. And then available evidence clearly shows that information requested by the murdered RTI users was information that should have been mandatorily disclosed in the public domain under Section 4 of RTI Act. Very, very important. Look at this. Whatever information these people are asking, ideally it should have been mandatorily uploaded to the government website. Section 4(2) of RTI Act says all the governments must at regular intervals disclose information mandatorily to public, general public. Right? Whatever information they are supposed to disclose in a mandatory manner, the RTI activist is asking the same information. This is something you should have done on your own. You should have done it on your own because RTI Act mandates you to do it. Unfortunately, many governments are not doing, and that is why these activists come into picture. They seek information. They are seeking information. So, what should state governments do? They must make immediate efforts to institutionalize proactive disclosure of actionable information. Very, very important. Proactive, not reactive. Not when someone asks. You must do it proactively. Disclose all the relevant information on your website proactively without waiting for someone to come and request you. Is it possible? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. If you take the example of Rajasthan, Rajasthan has come out with its portal Jan Suchna, where people can get access to all the information about the different departments of the government, different schemes and everything. Similarly, Karnataka came out with its own portal Mahiti Kanaja, again a shining example of RTI's mandatory disclosure norm. These two states have come forward and they are disclosing information proactively on their own. When two states can do, why can't other states? Yes, it is quite possible. States must come out and share information mandatorily. Next point, he is giving multiple recommendations. In all cases of the threats, attacks or killings, State Information Commission, what should it do? It must immediately direct the relevant public authorities to disclose and publicize all the questions raised and the answers given to the user. Very, very important. Look at this. Suppose there is an RTI activist. He has requested information. He has requested some important information from a public authority. So before the public authority gave this information, this person has been brutally murdered or killed. Now, our author, Justice Madan Lokur, is giving a suggestion. For example, this person is killed, which means he had requested for some information. He had requested for some information. Before he got hold of information, he was killed. Now, Justice Madan Lokur is saying these authorities must disclose this information to public. And who should order them? State Information Commission. So State Information Commission must immediately, upon killing of an activist, must immediately order the public authority to disclose the information that was requested. Because the one who killed him did not want this information to go public. That was the reason he got him killed. Now, if SIC directs the public authorities to reveal this information, put this in public, then what will he think? Even if I kill the person, that information will go public, and it will give more, wider publicity. Obviously, right? Because of this information, this person was killed, and that gives more and more publicity to that information, and these people will be exposed. And with that fear, there will be a deterrent effect. Deterrent means, what is the meaning of deterrent? Deterrent is something that discourages. Now, with this fear of getting wider publicity to that unwanted information, they might stop attacking the person. It acts as a deterrent against attacks on RTI users. Very, very, very beautiful suggestion given by our justice. Very, very important suggestion. You have to make note of all these suggestions which you can use as it is in your answers, because these were given by former Supreme Court judge. And finally, he is asking us to come out with an effective legislation. We need to come out with Whistleblower Protection Act. Unfortunately, it is not notified yet. We have an act, but the government is not notifying, which means the act has not come into force yet. So there is an act, but it is not notified. Notified means it has not come into force yet. Supreme Court came down heavily on them. Supreme Court in 2016 came down heavily on the union government. Even then, 8 years have gone, but the proposed act has not been notified yet. The central government was called upon to decide on a specific time frame to establish administrative setup to protect whistleblowers, but nothing moved in these 8 years. So given this reality, instead of waiting for central government, state governments must introduce their own mechanisms for protecting whistleblowers by enacting a state level whistleblower protection law. So don't wait for center is not waking up. So states must take up the mantle and come out with their own whistleblower protection laws. If you are ignoring the plight of RTI users facing death for keeping our democracy alive, that itself is a threat to democracy. because these are the people who are defenders of democracy. Democracy requires participation. Participation requires information. These RTA users are providing this information. If we are killing them, it is like we are killing information, then we are killing participation, we are killing democracy. So we must protect our whistleblowers. If the center is not acting on it, states must come out with their own legislations. That is about it. A very important article about Places of Worship Act. This comes under your General Studies paper 2, GS 2. So we need to understand a bit of background for this. Now there are 6 new pleas are challenging this particular Places of Worship Act. So you have to go back to 1990s. In 1990s and in 1980s, several Hindu organizations including VHP, RSS, they all believed, they all claimed that first Mughal emperor Babur had demolished a Hindu temple in Ayodhya to construct a mosque in 16th century. Are you getting this? They were claiming that Babur demolished a Hindu temple in Ayodhya and constructed a masjid in its place in 16th century. In 16th century. And it became a major electoral issue for BJP after that. And the most important aspect with respect to this Ram Janmabhoomi issue happened in 1990 when L.K. Advani started his Rath Yatra. He started his Rath Yatra in September 1990. September 1990 from Somnath in Gujarat to Ayodhya in UP. He started this Rath Yatra, and then in this Rath Yatra he mobilized crowds, he catalyzed the Hindu community. He utilized the entire Hindu community. He made them aware of the issue. So people were communally charged. Their emotions were aroused. He used to say, we are not asking for a Ram temple in Makkah. We are not asking for a Ram temple in Jerusalem. We are asking for Ram temple in Ayodhya, which is the birthplace of Ram. When Advani would utter these kind of sentences, people got communally charged and aroused. And that led to some communal tensions. To diffuse those tensions, to reduce, to remove, to cut down, to cool down those tensions, the then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao, he came out with this particular act called Places of Worship Act. So what is this act saying? Look at this. This act mandates that, very important point, this act mandates that the identity of a religious place of worship as it existed in 15th August 1947 should not be changed. Now a Hindu person goes and tells, earlier a temple used to be there, a Muslim king came and he demolished it. A Sikh person comes, earlier there used to be a Sikh temple, mandir, gurudwara, and a Hindu king came, he demolished and he constructed a temple. So these kind of things will come into picture. To remove all those aspects, to maintain the secular fabric of the country, to reduce the communal tensions that were simmering because of Advani's Rath Yatra, P.V. Narasimha Rao government came out with this Places of Worship Act, according to which the status as on 15th August 1947 should not be changed. For example, on 15th August 1947, there was a temple and you should call it as a temple. Okay, on or before 15th August, as on this. This is very, very important. Okay, for example, there is a mosque today. As on 15th August 1947, there is a mosque. But earlier, there used to be a temple. But we don't care. Since there is a mosque on 15th August 1947, we have to treat it as a mosque. We should not touch the religious character. Very important. The Act declared that the character of the places of worship pilgrimage shall be maintained as it was on 15th August 1947, and no suit or proceeding shall lie in court. This was the order. But remember, but when P.V. Narasimha Rao government came out with this law, by then already there was a court suit for Babri Masjid. Babri Masjid, there is a court suit lying already. So only Babri Masjid was exempted from the purview of this law. So this law doesn't apply to Babri Masjid. So Babri Masjid issue can be settled by court. Except that rest everything will remain as they are, as they were on 15th August 1947. 1 year later, in 1992, this Babri Masjid was demolished by Hindu mob. That's a separate issue altogether. In 2019, and Supreme Court awarded the site to Hindus. So now we can construct Ram Mandir there. That's a separate issue altogether. But now the issue is about this particular Places of Worship Act. So this person, Ashwini Kumar Upadhyay, what is he saying? He is saying this act is not good. It is not allowing us to reclaim our property, reclaim our identity. For example, earlier there used to be a mosque. It was demolished and a temple was constructed. Now Muslims should have a right to reclaim their earlier identity. Similarly, a temple was there, it was demolished, a mosque was constructed. Hindus should have a right to reclaim their earlier cultural heritage. That is what this man is saying. But Supreme Court in earlier cases has supported this act. It also said it defends or upholds secular values of India. It defends or upholds secular values of India. Okay. Now, after getting all these petitions, in March 2021, Supreme Court has issued a formal notice to Union Ministers of Home, Law and Culture. So please come out with your stand. Now Supreme Court has asked all these ministries to come out with their own stand on this particular issue. Once government submits its affidavit, probably Supreme Court will deliver its judgment on the validity of Places of Worship Act. I hope you have got the gist of this particular article. Right. So next article of the day, data about core sector output expands by 12.7%. This comes under your General Studies Paper 3, Indian Economy, useful from the perspective of prelims. So instead of going through the newspaper article, I would prefer opening the document released by the ministry directly. So I have collected it for you. Let's open the document directly. Let's look at the press release by the ministry. So this is the press release. Again, you can see dated July 29th, 2022. And the data about index of 8 core industries. And who releases it? Government of India, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. You might get a question in prelims, which ministry releases the data of index of 8 core industries? It is Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Office of Economic Advisor, OEA, DIPP, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So this particular department releases index of 8 core industries. Another question can be about the base year. So what is the base year for this? 2011 and 12. I will explain you the meaning of this. I will explain to you the meaning of what is 2011 to 12 equal to 100. So the news item talks about the combined index of 8 core industries has increased by 12.7% as compared to June 2021. This data is for June 2022. Year on year, it increased by 12.7%. You don't need to remember these figures because they keep changing. But what you need to remember is what are the 8 core industries and their respective weights. If you look at this, coal, cement 1, 2, electricity 3, refinery products 4, fertilizers 5, steel 6, natural gas 7, and finally crude oil. So crude oil production has actually declined. So all these 7, production has gone up. For crude oil, the production has declined. That is why they did not mention it here. So this is what they have given. And out of these 8 core industries, they comprise 40.27% in IIP. Very, very important. IIP is Index of Industrial Production. This data is released by National Statistical Office under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, National Statistical Office. They release the data of Index of Industrial Production. So it talks about mining, manufacturing and electricity. All these 3 broad sectors. So IIP is a much broader index. And you can say these 8 core industries that we are talking about, they are around 40.27% of total IIP, Index of Industrial Production. By looking at this IIP and core industries, we can figure out how the economy is doing. If the production is going up year on year, which means economy is growing. If the production is dipping, which means economy is not doing great, especially in the industry sector. It doesn't include services sector, it doesn't include primary sector, which is your agriculture. Without agriculture and services, it covers remaining aspects predominantly from the secondary sector. Secondary sector. So I want you to take a look at the weight. If you see this particular document, it talks about performance of 8 core industries. I want you to take a look at this particular aspect. Base year 2011 to 12. So what they mean is, in 2011 and 12, you look at the performance of electricity, cement, steel, fertilizers, refinery products, natural gas, crude oil and coal. All these 8 industries. So you add the total production of all these. Let's assume, I will explain to you in the form of units. Let's assume total production of all these units is, let's say, 10,000 units, and you call it 100. You have equated it to 100. Are you getting it? In year 2011 and 12, all these industries put together produced, let's assume, 10,000 units, and you are calling it 100. Based on the amount produced, you assign weights. Which industry has the maximum weight? Refinery products. So this is very important. So out of 8 industries, which has the maximum weight? Refinery products has the maximum weight. So this is 2011 and 12 data. And next year, 13-14, so there will be ups and downs. In some industries, you will have increase, in some industries you will have decrease. For example, if you see refinery product, it has gone up. If you see fertilizers, gone down. Natural gas, gone down. Coal, gone up. If it is more than 100, gone up. Less than 100, gone down. Overall, again 106.5, which means it has gone up compared to previous year. So this is how they calculate. If the total is 10,000 units in 2011 and 12, let's assume in 2013 and 14, if it is 10650 units of total production, you call it 106.5. If 10,000 equal to 100, 10650 units will be 106.5. That is how you need to figure. It is like CPI, Consumer Price Index. Similar to that, they make these calculations. So predominantly the points that you need to remember from the exam point of view, it is released by Office of Economic Advisor, Department of Industrial Production, DIPP, and Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Base year 2011 to 12, 8 industries. Refinery products has the maximum weight, refinery products, and it is a monthly release, and all 8 core industries put together comprise approximately 40% of Index of Industrial Production, which is released by National Statistical Office, MOSPI. These are the things you need to remember. By looking at the data of IIP and 8 core industries, we figure out how the economy is doing in a particular month. I hope you got it. Next article is from the business space. Again comes from your General Studies paper 3, Indian economy. Fiscal deficit of India touched 21.2% of target in Q1. So we have an annual target. If you see it here, you can see for this financial year, fiscal deficit is projected at 16,61,196 crores, which is 6.4% of the GDP, out of which we already have 3.51 lakh deficit as of first quarter of 2023. So that is why they are saying it is 21.2% of the target in Q1 itself. From where are we getting this data? We are getting this data from Controller General of Accounts. Very, very important. CGA. So you need to know some facts about CGA, Controller General of Account. It is not CAG, remember. It is not CAG, that is Comptroller and Auditor General. We are talking about CGA, which is Controller General of Accounts. CGA is in Department of Expenditure, Ministry of Finance. It is in Department of Expenditure and Ministry of Finance. And CGA is your principal accounting advisor. Principal accounting advisor to our union government. Principal, not economic, accounting advisor to union government. It is responsible for establishing and maintaining sound management. Sound means very strong management accounting system. So it is responsible for maintaining a very sound accounting system. That is the responsibility of CGA. They prepare monthly and annual analysis of expenditures, revenues, borrowings and several other aspects of union government. So they maintain the accounts of union government. Okay, so who is the current CGA? There is a person heading this, and as of now it is Srimati Sonali Singh. Srimati Sonali Singh is the current head of CGA. So this is some facts about Controller General of Accounts. I would also like to teach you something about this concept of fiscal deficit. You need to understand what this means. So in simple terms, fiscal deficit is the difference between the total expenditure of the country and the revenue of the country. If the expenditure is more than revenue, then we have deficit. What happens when you have deficit? We will borrow. So what is the significance of knowing fiscal deficit? It tells us the borrowing requirements of the government. Even at our home, our expenses, let's say our expenses for a month is 15,000, whereas our income is only 12,000. What will our father do? He will take 3,000 as debt. He will borrow it from his friend or anyone. So that's what the government also does. When the expenditure is more than revenue, it tells us government needs to borrow additional amount. So that data of fiscal deficit gives us the borrowing requirement of the government. If the fiscal deficit is more, that means the government is borrowing more. So this is why fiscal deficit indicators are important. With this, I conclude today's Hindu analysis. Please share your feedback in comment section. Take care guys. Bye bye. Catch you later.